Information Station 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Our next guest has a few things that I think a few things for everybody. Something for everybody, I guess, is the best way to say this. One of the things I noticed in his bio is that he wrote a book and he self-published it. And he tried to pitch it to different publishers and did not have any success. And then he self-published it, and then it was really successful. And then, of course, the publishers came crawling out of the woodwork to publish his book. So I think that's kind of cool. And that's every author's dream, I think, is to write something and self-publish it, and then have a publisher come out and say, "Oh, well, that sounds like a good book. Let's take it now." I guess that's when you have the leverage, right? So the other thing he'll have for some of you is his thoughts on whether we have gone too far in protecting ourselves. After 9/11, as you know, everything has changed when you get on an airplane. You get Robin. You took a couple flights in the past year or so, and you had to go through all that stuff. See, I haven't flown in years, so I don't know. But
had to go through it.
And so, have we gone too far? It's one of the other things. And then the third thing he has to offer us is that he's just got some really good storytelling skills. He's got a new book out called Son of the Black Sword. It is a fantasy genre narrative. So we have usually when it's just a novelist, I should say, we schedule about a 10-minute interview, but because he has so many things to offer, we have him on for 25 minutes. Larry Correia is a military contractor. There's another reason to speak to him. He is a New York Times best-selling author. Good morning, Larry Correia. Am I saying your last name right, first of all? Good morning, Larry.
Good morning. Yeah, it's Correia, just pronounced like the country.
I know I'm saying your first name right, because that's my name. So you got a good first name.
Yeah. There's not very many of us anymore. It's an uncommon name now.
It's a dying name. I know. It's crazy. It's so nobody names their children after you, right? Where are you right now?
I'm in northern Utah.
In Utah. All right. Well, thank you for being on the air with us today. So let's see, where do we start? You've got so many different things. Let's start with your thoughts on whether we are a coddled society. Have you seen this firsthand yourself?
Yeah, I just because of my background, I did a lot of security stuff and worked with a lot of military, and saw that a lot of the stuff we did was just kind of a theater for show. There was kind of a point where we had people giving up freedom for basically so they could feel safer. It wasn't really doing much. Homeland
Security came out with a report maybe a few weeks ago, and it showed how many attempts to wreak havoc on us were actually thwarted. And it was amazing to see how many there were. And I guess I don't know if they were doing that to show us that the Patriot Act was actually working, or why they were showing us that. But I remember when the Patriot Act first came out, there were a lot of people. In fact, Rand Paul and Ron Paul to this day still are very much opposed to it.
Oh yeah, the thing is that actually, I mean, and this is in no way meant as an insult to the guys that law enforcement and DHS and the SRT guys and ICE, and those guys work their butts off, and our soldiers. I mean, they are protecting us every day. My problem is more the way the government uses this continual threat as an excuse to deprive people of their freedom.
Right.
And so a lot of the stuff, it's not about necessarily stopping a threat. It's about gathering more information, gathering more control. I mean, a lot of times it's things that are obviously not to stop terrorism so much as it's just that they want to know what you're doing. They want to have access to your business. They want to have access to your email, your phones, your bank accounts. They just want control. And, because
I think you're right. Well, I'm so conscious of it. Let me tell you this. When I do the news here at this radio station, and I get up 3 a.m. and do it at home, And when I also prepare some show prep, and so I email it to myself, and then I get it here and I print it up if whatever I need. And I'm very reluctant. In fact, I don't. In the subject line of whatever I'm sending myself, if there's a story about terrorism or bombs or anything like that, my subject line says nothing of the sort. I just put a little news for today or something like that. Make it simple.
Oh, I'm sure. As a guy who's written thrillers, the research I've had to do, I am sure I am on every single watch list there is.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure you are. Absolutely. And especially in today's day and age when it's all probably electronic as well as in print, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So it's like this morning I'm gonna look up bioengineered diseases, and then let's look up bomb fuses.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah,
so we have had the honor and the privilege of having honor flights go from our airport here in our community, and we managed to transport all of the World War II veterans to Washington, D.C. on the honor flights. But when on the date that they were to fly from our area to D.C., the TSA came, and even they had to go through metal detectors. They had to take their shoes off. They had to go through everything, just like you would at a regular airport.
Yeah, it's silly because you got these soldiers that have served. I had friends deploying on airlines and and actually wearing their uniforms, carrying their equipment, having their gear. They've got their vests on with combat knives, and they're getting their nail clippers confiscated.
Well, let me be the devil's advocate or whatever. In other words, I agree with you, but I'm going to try to interject something that is the opposite viewpoint of all three of us. If I look like a terrorist, and I
do. I don't know if you've seen my picture.
No.
Yeah.
I look like.
You look.
Like
Robin's agreeing. What do you mean, Robin? What does he look like?
I look. I expect one of the guys that one of the 6 guys they released from Ghetto at the beginning of the year. He could pass as my twin brother.
No way. Wait. I'm going to look you up.
Yeah.
All right, well, let me thought while the computer there. No, you don't. Well, yeah, you sort of do, I guess.
Well, actually, yeah. When I grow my beard out.
That's it. Oh yes. Yes. If that beard was longer, definitely. Mm-hmm. And put it
right now I have the full beard going on again, and so yeah, I look like a cross between basically Super Mario and Mullah Omar.
Put a towel over your head and you'll really be in trouble.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the thought. Here's the devil's advocate thought on this. So let's say you're standing behind Grandma in the wheelchair, okay? And Grandma in the wheelchair is given a pass, so she doesn't have to get up and you don't have to search her, and then they search you. You could easily say, hey, I'm just an author. I'm not going to cause anybody any trouble. Well, yeah, but you look like you could be trouble.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that's why they inspect Grandma, just so that the guy who does look like he could be trouble can't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. I've seen them skip over me when I've been there and bearded in my suit, and they'll skip over me and they'll pat down a arthritic old lady who basically you could give her a samurai sword and she couldn't take over a plane. Okay, and I mean unless she's secretly like a kung fu master, I mean there's no way Grandma's going to take the plane over. But we do these things for like. Basically, the government kind of gets in there and it sets rules, and everybody has to follow the rules. But the rules aren't necessarily based on sense, Mm-hmm. They're based on somebody thousands of miles away in an office said, "Okay, these are the rules, and this is the checklist, and you're going to follow it."
Yeah, right.
And then people are afraid, like on the front lines with the rules of engagement stuff. People are afraid to do what they need to do because they're violating the rules that were set by people who don't actually understand what it is they're doing. So we got this really weird bipolar system, mm-hmm. and the only reason the main reason that we are safe is because the guys that do this for a living, on the front lines and stuff, they get the job done regardless, and then they wind up getting in trouble afterwards, and then the government just goes and torques off a bunch of regular people. It's a really weird system that we have.
Yeah.
That's why I like to write about it in a fictionalized setting, so I can talk about problems without having to actually talk about the real world.
Right, and we want to be fair to the book, but one thing I wanted to say, we know with all the shootings, there was another shooting this morning in Arizona, and the president is talking about executive action to have stronger laws against guns, etc. And Ben Carson comes out and says, if the Holocaust victims had guns, there probably wouldn't have been a Holocaust. And you have to say, he might be right, because didn't Hitler take the guns away first?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Took them away first.
Well, actually, if you look at like, I think Carson is spot on. Okay, because if you look at Israel, the formation of Israel, one of the big mottos there was never again. And that's why Israel was always, from the beginning, armed.
Yeah.
And you look at the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. Compare what happened in the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising to what happened in all the rest of Europe. They fought. They stole guns from the Nazis, and they fought back. And it was, eventually most of them died, but the thing is, the Nazis had to spend so much time and energy and put so many soldiers fighting in this ghetto that it wasn't worth it for them.
Yeah.
And that was one city, and you can just imagine if the rest of Europe had been able to fight back, like just logistically, it would have been really, really difficult for the Nazis to do what they did if they had to fight every step of the way.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that's the genius of our founding fathers. And it's an everyday fight, and we hate hearing stories about people who shoot other people on campuses, etc. But to take the guns away as a solution to that, the folks in Australia have like this very low murder rate compared to us. We have a really unbelievably high and embarrassing and scary high rate. But the truth is, Australia, if Russia ever decided to take you over, it's not going to be too hard.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're probably going to be the ones who rescue them. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this, but I was a concealed weapons instructor for about 10 years on the side, and then I worked in the gun business, and so I did a lot of firearms instruction. I was actually I did lobbying for the Republican Party in the state of Utah for gun rights, and one of the fights we were involved in was getting concealed weapons permits allowed on college campuses. So basically, if you were a teacher or you were a student, over 21 years old, passed background check, had the permit, you were allowed to carry a gun on campus. And we actually won that fight here in Utah. So I believe for about a decade now, we've had guns in school in Utah. And specifically to not have these gun-free zones where they're just kind of like a big target where the bad guys know they'll be able to work for a while before anybody responds. But yeah, so like here in Utah, we very specifically we're kind of ahead. The rest of the nation's kind of catching up with us now and realizing how foolish those gun-free zones are. But yeah, we've done that for years here, and that's one of the things that I fought for, and I'm really pleased to do that.
Wow, that's interesting. Let me squeeze in a phone call real quick. We have somebody waiting on hold, and then we'll take the break. And then when we come back, I want to make sure to be fair to the book, because you are an author as well as
yes.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah. So let's take that phone call first. Good morning. You're on the air with Larry Correia.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning. I actually think that the hijacking of airplanes is a thing of the past, because if a hijacker tries to take over a plane, the passengers will beat him to death.
Hopefully, yeah.
Well, I think what we should be afraid of is hijacking like an 18-wheeler. Somebody will grab an 18-wheeler and pack it full of dynamite and blow it up on a bridge or a tunnel.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That could be too. Yeah.
Have a good day.
Yeah. Good thoughts.
It is.
Good thoughts. He sounds like he thinks like a novelist. So
yes.
And Larry Correia is a novelist, and he's written a book called Son of the Black Sword. Let's find out what the book is about when we come back. Although the conversation before the break has been really interesting, I want to be sure we're fair to the book. So let's take that break. We will be right back. This is WOCA.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accidents. Well, today, intervals of clouds and sunshine, high rip current risk at the coast. There can be a shower with thunderstorm as well later today, especially over the interior, the high 84 to 88. Partly cloudy tonight. There can be a brief shower or two in the area, low 69 to 73. For tomorrow, more clouds and sun with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm or two, the high 82 to 86. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Get it for less at the DIY Home Center outlet. Get top quality real wood cabinets the same or less than the big box stores are selling the cheap stuff. And that's not all. Drywall screws big box stores are $6.47 a pound. At DIY, only $4.99. Plus, DIY has the largest selection of mobile home parts and accessories anywhere. From carpet to doors, get the DIY supplies you need for less. The DIY Home Center outlet. We are your building material closeout store. 2191 Northwest 10th Street, just 2 miles east of I-75.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
This is James Snyder, inviting you to join me each Sunday morning at 9:30 for Sunday Joy on 1370 AM, 96.3 FM.
All right, 9 minutes before 11 o'clock. Oh, we've been having a really great conversation with Larry Correia. He is on the phone. His last name, by the way, is it's pronounced like the country, spelled Correia. If you're going to look him up online, he'll give us the websites in just a minute. The book is called Son of the Black Sword. This is not his first book. Larry, are you still with us, I hope?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Tell me the story about Son of the Black Sword. What's in the book?
This one is actually my first epic fantasy. So I've written 14 books now, but a bunch of different genres. This epic fantasy series, it's set in a world that's kind of culturally is based on India. It's in kind of getting what we were talking about earlier. It's a society where they have basically given over all of their freedom and control to someone to protect them because of a threat, because of an outside threat. And this starts up several hundred years later, where basically it's a real totalitarian system with a real brutal caste system society. The story's about this guy who's a kind of a militant, magical, roving law enforcement agent and he's basically an agent of the Inquisition who takes care of religion is banned, so they crack down on that. He does a lot of bad things, and then he finds out he's not really what he thinks he is, and just kind of all hell breaks loose.
Oh, wow. And so this is the first of a series?
It is, yes. Son of the Black Sword. Number 2 is called House of Assassins. Number 3 is called Destroyer of Worlds.
Was there something about this genre that attracted you? It sounds like this was something new for you.
Yeah, actually, I grew up reading epic fantasy. Terry Brooks, Raymond Feist, David Eddings, Tolkien. But I got my start writing urban fantasy with the Monster Hunter International series, and then I did alternate history, and then I did military thrillers. So I did a bunch of different things, but this is what I grew up on. So I was really excited to try my hand at epic fantasy, and it came out really good. And the early reviews on it are really positive. I enjoyed the heck out of it, so I'm hoping people like it.
When you write your scenarios, you are a problem solver. So you have this problem in the beginning, your characters go through their own turmoil in the middle, and then you solve the problem. And if people in the government would read your novels and realize that they need to come up with a solution before they publicly state the problem, I think that the world would be a better place.
Well, yeah, and plus I tend to write from the heroic perspective. I don't do navel-gazy stuff. I like men of action who do things, and strong men and women who just take care of problems and see they're self-sufficient. It's funny that you bring that up though, because I did a signing one time, book signing at Fort Meade, Maryland, and it turns out I have a bunch of fans in the NSA. So the running joke was that they got to read my books before my editor did, because they got to read them off my computer as I wrote them.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
No, they don't. They just. I was saying that.
Oh, okay. Went over my head. I'm sorry. I'm busy looking at all your books here on is this Amazon? Amazon is where I'm looking at your books. Wow, you've really done a lot of work. Okay, so tell me the story about the publishing with that. That was kind of an interesting story for.
Oh yeah. So I got my start. I was actually moderating internet gun forums, and I love horror movies. But most horror movies would be over really fast if you had a gun nut as the main character, because you just shoot the monster and be over. So I wanted to write a book about my people, like in those horror movie kind of situations. So it's kind of for gun nuts and horror movies.
Okay.
I wrote this, and Monster Hunter International was my first book, and it was actually pretty good, and people really liked it, but I couldn't sell it anywhere. I got rejected about 100 times, all over publishing, and but I had a business background and I understood marketing, so I was like, okay, I think that people would buy this. So this was back in 2008, and before the ebook revolution, and so I went ahead and self-published it. It was a huge hit. I did really extremely well. People really loved it, and then my publisher now, Bain Books, it came to their attention and they loved it. So they made me an offer, and I've been with them ever since.
Oh, wow. And what was the title of that book, that first one?
Monster Hunter International. So,
okay.
Yeah, I think it's contractors who take care of monster problems. So it's kind of X-Files meets the Expendables.
And you've turned that into a series.
Oh yeah, that one's actually done really well. We've actually it's kind of turned into a franchise. I've written 5 books so far. And then other authors are writing in the universe now too. John Ringo is writing one. Sarah Hoyt's writing one.
Wow!
So it's kind of expanded. That series is multiple New York Times bestsellers. That series has done really, really extremely well.
We've had John Ringo on. I don't know the other name. I don't think we've had.
No, I don't think so. But John Ringo,
you've got 381 reviews and 5 stars. Wow, you do really well on the rating thing.
Yeah, and then actually it's really cool because I don't know if you guys know Jim Butcher. He's a really famous author of the Dresden Files, and he's doing a short story set in the Monster Hunter universe. Jonathan Mayberry, Faith Hunter. We're actually doing an anthology. I've got 7 other New York Times bestsellers writing stories set in this universe.
Oh, so, that is amazing. How does that make you feel, though? Cool. Do you feel like they're taking your thunder and that quells some of your creativity?
Yeah, really.
No, I still get to be editor, so I still have to approve everything that these other people write in my universe, and I still have to make sure it makes sense. Mm-hmm. So it's fun because I get to shoot down people who are way more famous than me.
Oh,
this is a fun interview for sure. Wow, you could even read parts of the books on Amazon, large parts. Wow, you're pretty generous with your free samples on Amazon.
Yeah, actually, that first novel I mentioned from 2008, that one's for free. You can get the ebook for free on Amazon if you'd like. I just threw that out there for free.
Is there anything that we as Americans should be on the lookout for of the next thing that our freedom might be taken away in the event that they're saying that, well, we need to have more safety?
Oh yeah, that's constant. I mean, just look at this last week. We had another horrible crime, and immediately you had people vulturing. I mean, before the bodies were even, before the police had sealed off the crime scene entirely, you already had politicians giving news conferences about how we need to deprive Americans of rights. So before they knew anything at all, and so basically it's not just shootings, but think of any headline-grabbing tragedy. Any scary, horrible thing that happens, there's going to be a politician who is ready with something to put into place to take away more of your freedom.
Yeah.
And more often than not, when you're an expert on the topic and you look at what they're proposing, it wouldn't have stopped the tragedy. It wouldn't have made any difference at all. But that doesn't stop them. Yeah, they are ready to go.
Well, Larry, thank you for being on the air with us today. For the listeners, let's see. I went to Amazon. Do you have a website of your own?
Sure. Yeah, Amazon's a great way to find me, but also I'm on. It's monsterhunternation.com. or larrycorreia.wordpress.com. So if you just plug in my name or just plug in Monster Hunter Nation into your search engine, you'll find me.
All right, excellent. Thank you for the wonderful interview, Larry Correia, Correia. For the listeners, remember we always put these interviews and the spelling of everything on Facebook, and the interview itself will be up at 2:00 today on both Facebook and on the YouTube channel. Larry, thank you for being on the air with us. Come back with the next book.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
That was fun. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.